Imagine a world drowning in the tides of fate. Makes you wonder, is destiny actually set in stone? Some say it's flexible, that your choices can flip the script and lead to 100 different endings. But then, there are those who believe the opposite, that no matter what you do, the universe pulls you toward one unavoidable conclusion. Our story begins when horrific monsters suddenly tore through the veil, invading the land and plunging the world into total, bloody chaos. Hope vanished in an instant. Some people just gave up, collapsing to the dirt in pure, unadulterated terror as their world ended. Others ran, screaming for their lives, trying to escape the nightmare creatures that had come to turn the earth into a playground of torment. One day, a group of survivors thought they found a way out, only to realize they run straight into a dead end, a massive cliff. They scrambled to find cover, but the terrain was too flat. There was nowhere to hide from the beast hunting them. Their only choice was to crouch behind some jagged rocks, praying. One girl was so terrified she started sobbing, begging for a miracle. She prayed the heavens would shield her, but as a single tear hit her chest, fate decided to be cruel. The monster appeared right in front of her. That tiny sound, that was all it needed to find its next meal. In her final moments, she begged for mercy. But this thing, it wasn't human. It didn't have a shred of empathy in its soul. The beast did what it was born to do. Meanwhile, hiding nearby, a green-eyed boy named Arthur Vance watched in horror. He realized he was trapped in the astral trials of 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒔. The beginner test was insane. He had to survive 5 minutes just to rank up. Looking at the terrified civilians around him, Arthur knew the truth. None of them would last even 60 seconds. Our protagonist's name is Arthur Vance, and right now he's fighting for his life in the trial of the astral kingdom. 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒔 is this massive, glowing star that just appeared in our sky 50 years ago, out of nowhere. It defied every law of physics. No tidal waves, no orbital shifts, just a giant, mysterious kingdom hanging over the earth. But there was a catch. After it arrived, the world's plants and animals mutated into abyss beings, monsters from a nightmare. These things were unstoppable, modern weapons, useless. The entire human race was suddenly staring at extinction. It was a state of pure helplessness. But in that darkness, a strange new light appeared in the form of teleportation gates. Survivors discovered these glowing matrices scattered across the globe. Step through one, and your consciousness is sent straight to 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒔. You enter the astral kingdom in a digital form. And once people arrived, they realized it was basically a hyper-realistic virtual world. It was like a game, but with real-world consequences. You could choose a class, like a knight or a mage, and level up. Everyone gained stats, gear, and powerful skills. You could evolve your character, becoming stronger with every battle you survived. But here's the crazy part. Once you hit a certain level in 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒔, you can actually bring those powers back to the real world. Suddenly, humans weren't helpless anymore. They became as powerful as the monsters, able to fight back with steel and magic. To survive as a species, humanity had no choice. They had to dive into the astral kingdom and seize that power. The brave souls who venture into that world are known as explorers. Arthur is one of them, but he's in a nightmare scenario. The trial monster was carrying out a total massacre. As Arthur looked around, the realization hit him like a physical blow. He was the last one left. He backed up toward the edge of the abyss. No exit, no backup, just him and the beast. The monster turned its eyes toward him, ready to finish the job. Arthur couldn't help but feel a crushing wave of guilt. He'd lied to his family to get here. He remembered how his sister had worked herself to the bone to support his dream. Dee told him not to worry about the money, that she'd handle everything so he could reach the astral kingdom. Dee suffered so much since they were kids, just to give him this one shot at a better life. And then there was his older brother. The man was fighting for his life against kidney failure, desperate for a surgery they couldn't afford. If Arthur didn't bring back the riches from this trial, his brother was as good as dead. The stakes couldn't be higher. But look at him now. Not only was he failing the knight's right, but he'd spent all their savings just to die in the dirt. The regret was suffocating, but as the monster lunged to deliver the killing blow, something inside Arthur snapped. He wasn't going out like this. He refused to just sit there and wait for the end, not when his family was counting on him. He threw himself into a desperate sprint. It was a gamble, a pure, wild risk to keep his promise to his siblings. He barely dodged the fatal strike, but the beast's claws still tore through his shoulder. The pain was blinding, but it fueled his resolve. Arthur made a split-second, insane decision. He turned toward the cliff and jumped, knowing the fall was better than the monster's teeth. As he plummeted into the dark, a sharp chime rang in his ears. A holographic system window flickered to life before his eyes. The message was strange. It commented on his actions, noting that his reckless bravery was perfectly consistent with a hidden path. Arthur just hit the absolute jackpot. The system congratulates him for triggering a 1-in-a-million shot at a legendary reward. A hidden class. The message confirms his profession change was a total success, unlocking a secret path most never see. He's now an elite hidden player. After a terrifyingly long drop, Arthur finally slams into the forest floor below. Miraculously, the trees along the cliffside cushioned his fall just enough for him to survive the impact. He eventually groans awake next to a river flowing south, his head spinning as he wonders what the hell just happened. He's shocked to find he's not even bruised. Jumping off that cliff should have killed him, but his old injuries are gone. Right then, a rift in reality tears open before his eyes, and the system itself steps out of thin air. It takes the form of a stunning girl who explains that since his class awakening worked, his base stats are getting a massive boost. It's basically a full health resurrection. Arthur is skeptical and asks if she's just the digital brain of some artificial intelligence. She ignores his question and starts listing his new powers, starting with a dual blessing that doubles every reward or penalty. But get this, there's also a tiny 1% chance to trigger a Titan's blessing that cranks everything up by 10 times. Since Arthur activated the talent the exact second he received it, he's granted a secondary power, and he is absolutely hyped. This new ability is called Godslayer Strike, which boosts his damage by a staggering 200 times over. The catch, it only has a 1% hit rate. Arthur pulls up his status window and his jaw hits the floor. His core attributes total 36 points. Your average person usually only hits around 20 after their class change. He realizes this massive gap is all thanks to his dual blessing, talent working behind the scenes. This means every time he levels up here in the Shadow Realm, he'll be evolving twice as fast as any normal knight. Then there's that Godslayer move. Standard critical hits only double your damage, but this is something else entirely. Even with that low hit rate, if Arthur can find a way to boost his accuracy, his future damage will be terrifying. He takes a breath and spots a monster's discarded blade, snagged in the river current, and grabs it for protection. Originally, his plan was simple: get a basic job and return home to earn gold for his brother's surgery expenses. He didn't care how weak he was, as long as it brought in enough coin to support his struggling family. But he never expected to accidentally stumble into a legendary hidden class, turning him into a high-tier powerhouse. Arthur thinks that maybe now he can actually afford those surgery bills and give his family the life they deserve. But he's not out of the woods yet. Awakening was just the beginning. The real trial is still ahead of him. Every beginner has one massive goal: survive the first test by reaching the capital city of Sterling in just 7 days. It's a brutal mission. The entire trial zone is crawling with monsters, and if you die, you're teleported back home instantly. Dying in the Shadow Realm doesn't hurt you back in the kingdom, but there's a massive catch that changes everything. Re-entering this place costs a fortune, and since Arthur is broke, he doesn't have the luxury of a second chance. Just then, a bone-chilling roar echoes through the trees. Time for his first real fight with these new powers. He ducks behind a thick oak, realizing that the cry sounds way too familiar for his liking. A massive great serpent suddenly bursts out, lunging at a man who's trying to defend himself with his eyes shut tight. The guy is throwing punches wrapped in a strange energy, but he's clearly paralyzed by pure, unadulterated fear. It's Barnaby, Arthur's longtime friend. Despite having a decent ability, the guy is too terrified to actually fight back. Arthur watches from the shadows, realizing these vipers are incredibly poisonous. One bite is basically a death sentence. "Don't let them intimidate you," he shouts, stepping out from behind the tree to save his friend's hide. Barnaby looks up in total shock, wondering how Arthur, of all people, is actually standing there on a battlefield. He starts sobbing, begging Arthur to run away because these snakes are way too strong and toxic for beginners. He screams that they don't stand a chance, but Arthur isn't listening to the panic. Instead, Arthur lunges forward and hurls his weapon with surgical precision, pinning one of the beasts to the earth. The serpent dies instantly. Barnaby stares at the corpse, his jaw dropping at how easily his weak friend just finished it. But this was the plan all along. Arthur intentionally used his buddy as a distraction to lure the snakes out. He waited for the perfect opening to strike them from behind while they were focused on Barnaby. The remaining vipers hiss, baring their venomous fangs as they turn their cold eyes toward the boy. Barnaby screams another warning as the monsters lunge, ready to devour Arthur in one go. Those shadow vipers are lightning fast, way beyond any normal human, but Arthur, he's dodging them like it's a walk in the park. Cedric is absolutely floored. He's watching his friend move with insane agility, all thanks to the power surge from Arthur's recent update. Dodging at that speed, it's second nature now. Arthur knows his attributes literally tripled the second he embraced his new class. He's basically a Tier 2 powerhouse now, making these Tier 1 snakes look like a joke. Our hero grips his weapon, tight. He tells Cedric to keep drawing their focus. His friend struggles to hold them off, but the fight is about to end, fast. Cedric only distracted them for a heartbeat, and suddenly, every single snake was dead. He can't even believe what he just saw. Arthur checks his status window. His class should be high on speed, but low on strength, yet his damage output is absolutely terrifying. That iron spear he looted from the man-faced beast. It's a monster of a weapon, a perfect boost for this nightmare beginner zone. Fight's over. Cedric practically tackles his friend in a hug, shouting praises about the insane strength Arthur showed for a rookie. Arthur just shoves him off. "Relax," he says. "I just got lucky with the initiation and the sovereign player class." Cedric doesn't quite get the technical talk, but he mentions his own path, the martial artist. Not bad, right? Honestly, it's no wonder he held out so long. That profession is ranked 5th among all the elite paths in the Kingdom of Albion. No one knows exactly how many paths exist in the Hollow Realm, but everyone has to survive the rite of initiation first. It all comes down to the artifacts you buy before you cross the threshold into this virtual hell. The wealthy, they spend millions on legendary materials to guarantee they end up as high-tier paladins or elite assassins. But the poor, they get the scraps, cheap materials that force them into pathetic roles like drunkards or even beggars. Arthur asks if Cedric hit up a loan shark to get such an elite class, but his friend just dodges the question. "Tell you later," Cedric mutters. In the Hollow Realm, every piece of loot can be traded for cold, hard gold. Arthur needs that money to help his family back home. They start gathering the snake carcasses immediately. In this world, remains and gear turn into cards that can be traded or sold on the system market. Based on that fight, it's clear, the sovereign class is on a whole different level compared to the martial artist. And that's saying something, considering the martial artist is already one of the highest-rated paths in the rankings. Suddenly, they spot a girl lost in the deep forest. Arthur's curious. Cedric, he's absolutely terrified. It's just a simple girl who introduces herself as Alara. She begs to join their group to increase their chances. Arthur says no, flat out. They're barely surviving on their own. Bringing a stranger along is just asking for trouble. But Alara isn't backing down. She begs them not to leave her alone and reveals her profession. She's a healer. She's almost in tears. She explains that if they find more vipers, she can extract their venom to buff their weapons. Now, that changes the game completely. A healer is another one of the top 10 high-level elite professions. Arthur thinks back to his own near-death moments. Without a healer, this beginner stage is basically a suicide mission. He realizes they'll depend on healing to survive. If he hadn't received system help earlier, he'd be a corpse by now. After thinking it over, Arthur decides to let her join. They swap names, but Cedric has to lean in for a whisper. He tells Arthur he's only doing this to flirt with the girl, which makes the hero feel incredibly uncomfortable. Meanwhile, far away back on Earth, specifically in the Kingdom of Albion, inside the great city of Silverfell, Portal 18 is humming with power. In a high-tech data lab, scholars are monitoring every single explorer. One scholar is raving about their new enchanted chronometers. They can track anyone with pinpoint accuracy. A girl agrees. Most watches on the market can detect almost every piece of data inside the Hollow Realm. The better the watch, the more functions it has. Lady Isabella turns to the professor with a serious look. "How are the rookies doing? And my younger sister?" she asks. The news is grim. Based on the GPS locations of the beginner watches, most of the recruits have already been wiped out. But the little sister, she's actually managed to form a team of 3 people. Isabella is stunned. She'd specifically warned her sister not to join up with anyone in this zone. Why? Because of the balancing system. It's a cruel mechanic designed to keep things fair. Here's the thing. The more people that gather in one spot, the higher the probability of attracting a monster horde. 3 minutes into that conversation, the scientist looks at the monitor screen. His face goes completely pale as he sees what's coming next for the trio. Pure panic. Within the training grounds, 2 human-faced abominations were just detected. Fear started to grip the observers because a beast with a human face, that is nightmare fuel. A monster like that can wipe out every single novice in the trial. The commander knows her sister doesn't stand a ghost of a chance. Death in the Shard Realm is coming. Now, keep in mind, dying in this realm only means their digital avatars are destroyed. It doesn't actually kill their physical bodies back in the capital. But here is the thing, the experience of death. It is terrifyingly real. It leaves massive psychological scars because some of these poor souls, they were eaten alive piece by piece. Realizing the horror her sister is facing, she already knows the outcome. She is going to have to take the girl straight to a mind healer for counseling once this nightmare ends. But then the head scientist interrupts. "The girl, she isn't dead yet." The sister freezes, absolute shock. And it gets crazier. Not only is everyone still breathing, but the sensors are reporting something impossible. Both of those wretched human-faced monsters were killed at the exact same time. Let's rewind 3 minutes. Back in the virtual world, the monsters had just started their hunt, ready for a total bloodbath. The slaughter was about to begin. Seeing those twisted faces, the novices did the only thing they could. They ran. They ran for their lives, knowing they were completely outmatched. But Julian, our hero, looked back. He realized his 2 friends weren't as fast as he was. If they kept running, they were dead meat. He made a choice. He told Elias and Sophie to keep going while he stayed behind to hold the line. His friends were desperate, but Julian, he wasn't budging. He was certain. If he didn't stop these things now, the whole group would be hunted down one by one. It was a suicide mission, and he knew it. But in that moment, all he could do was stay and try to face those monsters in a one-on-one duel. Moving like lightning, Julian lunges forward. He drives his blade straight into the chest of the first monster with a perfect, precision strike. The beast let out a gut-wrenching groan. For a split second, Julian actually thought he'd done it. He thought he'd won. Wrong. A massive hand suddenly blurred toward him, swatting him like a fly. Julian went flying, crashing hard against a jagged rock. That is when the truth hit him. These human-faced freaks, they are tanks. You can't just take them down with one hit to a vital point. They are just too resilient. Coughing up blood, Julian realized this was it. He was going to die right here in the beginner's test. His journey was ending before it even began. Sophie burst into tears, screaming for Barnaby to jump in and help their leader. But Barnaby, he was completely paralyzed. He couldn't move a muscle. Meanwhile, back in the residential district of the city, a woman serves tea to a mysterious man. She thanks him for being the benefactor who provided the gear for her son, Barnaby, but she's confused. Why is this man so confident in her boy? Sure, he's big and strong, but he is incredibly shy. A gentle giant in a world of killers. She's convinced that if her son ever saw a real monster in the Shard realm, he would just turn tail and run. The man takes a sip of his tea and nods. He knows the boy is naturally terrified of danger. The mother's intuition isn't wrong. But here is the thing he noticed. No matter how scared Barnaby gets if he sees someone else in trouble, he never, ever fails to step up. And right on cue, with a roar that sounded like his very soul was exploding, Barnaby charges. He throws himself at the two monsters, unleashing every bit of his martial training. Even though his legs are literally trembling, he screams at Julian. Did Julian really think he was just some coward who needed protection? Barnaby's fist begins to glow with a massive golden aura. "We are brothers," he yells, and brothers, they walk the same path together, always. He charges into the fray with insane determination. If they are going down, they are going down together, fighting until the very last breath. It was a level of courage no one had ever seen from him before. Pure, raw heroism. Barnaby slams a devastating punch right into the center of the monster's chest. The impact was massive. Julian can only watch in awe. Could his friend actually kill a beast like this with a single blow? He realizes then that even if the raw damage was low, the control Barnaby has over his martial power is world-class. He's truly worthy of his rank. But they weren't alone. Sophie snapped out of it too, using her magic to start closing the brutal wounds Julian had taken from the monster. Julian looked at her, confused. Why was she still there? She isn't a fighter, she's a healer. It was way too dangerous. Her face was red with embarrassment, but her voice was steady. She wasn't leaving. A healer's job is to mend the fallen, no matter how terrified they are. See, her father was a knight who died in a massive monster years ago. He died fighting because there were no healers left to support him. He gave everything, but he had no one to watch his back. She remembers that pain every single day. Looking at her teammates now, she refuses to make that same mistake. She is not running away again. Within seconds, Julian feels his strength returning. His body is completely mended. He stands up, a wild smile spreading across his face, and praises Sophie's guts. But reality sets in. Even with the three of them working together, they just aren't dealing enough damage to finish these things off. That's when it clicks. Julian remembers what Sophie said earlier about extracting venom from a serpent to coat a weapon. He shouts the plan to her, dragging over the carcass of a monster they'd killed earlier. He needs that poison, and he needs it now. "Can you heal Barnaby and coat my blade in venom at the same time?" he asks. It's a huge gamble. Sophie looks at the mess, her hands shaking. She doesn't know if she has enough power, but she gives him a determined nod. She is going to give it everything she's got. Against all odds, our hero Alistair realizes this is the only path to victory, a gamble only he can pull off. While his friend Cedric has the shield skills to block, he can't survive the face stealer's brutal claws for long. Cedric's martial prowess is purely defensive, but Alara, she's the secret weapon, ready to surge Alistair's blade with her holy light. It's the classic fantasy trinity, the wall, the grace, and the blade, all working in perfect sync within this trials. Finally, the ritual is complete. Alistair coats his silver sword in a lethal, shimmering viper venom. With the poison active, he charges. He knows their frontline pressure is low, so timing is everything now. On the move, he shouts to Cedric to pin one of the grotesque ghouls down, a plan his friend catches instantly. Cedric anchors his position like a true knightly protector, and Alistair sees it, the rhythm of a real squad. If they move as one, perfectly harmonized, the impossible becomes possible. Even a face stealer, the legendary Squire Killer, can be hunted by a group of mere initiates. Alistair leaps, a blur of steel and venom. He lands a devastating vital strike that snaps the creature's life thread. Boom! The impact triggers a massive magical shockwave, the sound thundering through the ancient forest. The divine system chimes, level 2 face stealer slain. The rest of the team, absolutely floored. They actually did it. Shock turns into pure, adrenaline-fueled joy as they realize their combo is broken. But the other monster, it's trembling. Watching its twin die has it paralyzed with primitive terror. Alistair doesn't let up. Teamwork is the meta here, and they still have one beast left to put down. Terrified or not, the monster lunges, driven by raw instinct, but their formation is already a fortress. Meanwhile, in the Mage Overseer's tower, Alistair's sister, Lady Seraphina, is losing her mind. The data on her crystal slate is impossible. 3 squires just took down 2 high-tier predators. Usually, one of these things slaughters a dozen trainees, but the Overseer notes something strange. According to the logs, Ilera doesn't have the output for this, and the others are just level 1. The math doesn't add up unless the carry is Alistair Vance, the supposed underdog of the team. But wait, the system can't even read his class, it's just blank. Seraphina is stunned. To hunt 2 ghouls, you need a legendary profession. Just who has her brother become? Back on the proving grounds, the system confirms the spoils are ready for harvest. The group hits the dirt, completely spent, lungs burning from the most intense fight of their lives. Cedric laughs, praising Alistair's insane tactical mind, while Ilera finally catches her breath. She thinks they should run for the exit now, that they've proven they can survive. But Alistair, he's not moving. There's still plenty of time before they have to reach Astrum City. Relax, he tells them, leaving his teammates totally confused. Why stay in the death zone? Here's the play. Rankings are everything. The final score determines the loot they get at the end. The Royal Military gives the legendary tier gear to the top seeds, and Alistair wants it all. Now that they know how to kill, they can farm points and climb the leaderboard. He looks at them with a grin. Wanna hunt more? The rewards are just too good to ignore. The 2 are hesitant at first, but hey, the allure of epic loot is a powerful motivator. Cut to 3 hours later. Poor Cedric is standing in the brush as literal live bait, surrounded by vipers. He's practically in tears, wondering if he's about to become the first squire in history to die as a snack. Alistair is perched in the branches above like a hawk, telling his friend to find his courage. Don't worry, he calls down. Ilera's right there with the heals, you're fine. The snakes strike, fast as lightning, but Alistair drops from the sky like a vengeful god. System alert, 3 level 1 vipers slain. Alistair's experience, 10 out of 100. He knows the rules of the divine trial. Only the one who lands the killing blow gets the XP. Since Alistair is the only one with the lethality to end fights quickly, they made a choice. The team decided to funnel every single kill into him, first to power level him. If they turn Alistair into a high-level monster, he becomes the ultimate insurance policy for their survival. Julian and his crew are finally moving with ease. A day later, and they're still grinding away, fighting through the Shadow Realm's monsters until the next shift in the Oracle's energy. Then the Divine Oracle chimes in with a huge win. Julian just hit rank 2, and better yet, his gains are officially doubled. He's stunned, just 1 day of clearing out vipers and he's already ranked up. Isabella is right there, congratulating him on the insane progress. Arthur, though, wants the details. He asks what his stats look like now. Julian casually mentions he gained 20 attribute points from the breakthrough. He's sitting at 56 points total now. To Julian, it doesn't seem like much, but he's about to see just how much that shocks the others. I mean, Isabella and Arthur are just staring, jaws on the floor. In their world, seeing those kinds of numbers for a rank 2 is just not normal. Arthur breaks it down. Normally, leveling up boosts your strength and mind, but regular people only receive 10 attribute points per rank. So how does Julian have 20? Isabella, who only has 12 herself, points out that 56 points is usually what a rank 4 veteran carries. Julian explains it's a perk, or a curse, of his profession. It can double his rewards, sure, but get this, any punishment he takes gets doubled too. Isabella doesn't fully get the catch, she just thinks the class is god tier. Arthur, he's just feeling pretty disappointed in himself. Compared to Julian, his own class feels totally unimpressive. But suddenly, space-time rips open and a Maiden of the Oracle appears. She announces that at rank 2, players unlock a special ability. But because of Julian's unique talent, he's actually getting 2 of them. Julian is hyped. Realizing he'll have 2 professional skill sets this early means he's going to be an absolute powerhouse. Think about it, 2 full profession skills at once. Julian's friend is floored because what he's seeing is honestly impossible. Then the system chimes in. First skill, Ghostly Palm. And trust me, it's every bit as terrifying as the name suggests. If he uses actual cards, that penetration jumps to a massive 200%, though it drains his mental energy twice as fast. Then skill 2, Phantom Eye. His tracking and visual range just increased by 50%. He's got eyes like a hawk now. It takes 100% more mental power to use, but it can be improved. These are 2 perfect long-range tools. Julian decides this ranged attack style fits him perfectly. Feeling stronger, he tells the group it's time to hunt much bigger prey. He wants those high-experience monsters. As they head out to farm, Arthur can't help but feel a growing wave of jealousy. 2 days later, inside the kingdom's high-tech monitoring hub, the chief scientist is giving an update to the lead instructor, Alina. Good news, Alina's sister is still alive after 48 hours in the woods. Alina finally lets out a breath she's been holding. It's clear that Julian is the one carrying the team, showing he's still got plenty of raw strength left in reserve. But then the doors burst open. Guards rush in with a terrifying warning. The novice test is about to become a whole lot more dangerous. Intelligence just found out that the Northland Kingdom sent shadow raiders to invade their novice area. It's a rare, large-scale invasion. Then the Supreme Commander of Silvercrest, William, shows up. He's not playing around, they need to prepare for a crisis immediately. Alina is shaking. She asks the commander if a mass invasion is actually possible. He tells her they can't afford to lower their guard. Even if the report turns out to be a fluke later, they have to stay alert. This news absolutely terrifies her, and here's why. These raiders are a specialized group from the Northlands. Their only job, killing novices from other countries to stunt their future growth. The rules of the Shadow Realm are strict. Advanced players can't enter to help the kids. They have to pass this nightmare completely alone. But the Northlands have a dirty trick, an exclusive profession that lets their native players interfere with the game's boundaries. They exploit the invader trait to slip into foreign novice zones without triggering any of the usual defensive counterattacks. And these guys are sadistic. They make sure the novices from other kingdoms die in the most horrific ways imaginable. The goal is to traumatize the survivors so they're too scared to ever return, which guts the number of new foreign players. Alina slams her fist on the table, absolutely fuming. Her sister's mental defenses are weak. There's no way she can survive those Northland bastards. Commander William calls for the psychological support teams to be ready, because the large-scale invasion has already officially begun. It's grim. Back at the base, people are already starting to accept the fact that there might not be a single survivor left. Cut back to the Shadow Realm. The group is just walking casually through the forest, looking for new adversaries to grind. But then Julian stops. He feels it. Something is in the bushes. He spins around, weapon raised, shouting that someone is hiding there. Arthur is confused. What are you talking about? We just passed this spot, man. There was nothing there 5 minutes ago. Julian's face is dead serious. He knows the regular monsters are much further out in a completely different region of the woods. He doesn't hesitate. He prepares his strike, his instincts telling him that whatever is lurking nearby isn't a normal beast. With a massive surge of strength, He hurls his spear with everything he's got toward the spot where he felt the movement. The spear whistles as it flies, covering an incredible distance in the blink of an eye toward its hidden target. And we watch as it disappears into the trees, traveling a long distance to meet whatever is waiting in the dark. The projectile rips through the brush, obliterating everything in its path until it finally finds its mark. Arthur, our main man, just smirks at the carnage. He tells his stunned colleagues he's definitely hit something, urging them to follow. Cedric, he's not buying it for a second. Cedric thinks his friend has finally lost his mind, but honestly, he has no choice but to follow his leader into the dark. Deep in the pitch-black woods, Arthur has done the impossible, one-shotting a rank 2 spined great boar with terrifying ease. Alina is absolutely floored. I mean, killing a rank 2 beast from that distance. That's not just luck, it's scary. Arthur just brushes it off with a cool confidence. No need for the shock, guys. This is just what his new abilities can do. The magic grimoire chimes in, asking if he wants to harvest the boar's remains for some high-tier weapon materials. No time to waste. Arthur accepts, feeling the raw power of his Wraith Strike ability surge through his veins as he works. It's more than just a simple throw now. And his eagle sight, that's basically a sniper scope mixed with slow-motion vision. Long range, perfect accuracy. Yeah, he's basically a walking cheat code at this point, and he knows it. Arthur tells the group he needs exactly one more soul essence point to hit rank 3. Time to find a new hunting ground. But then, a chilling laugh echoes from the river. A voice calls out, mocking the lucky students from the academy. Something is crawling out of the dark water. And trust me, these guys aren't here to make friends or play nice. A group of bloodthirsty invaders emerges, grinning like they've just found a pile of easy snacks after a long march. These aren't students, they're killers. Arthur steps up immediately, demanding to know who the hell they are. Isabella is trembling. The sheer, suffocating killing intent coming off these men. It's enough to make anyone's blood freeze. One of the warriors gives a sick little smile. Don't be so scared, kids. We aren't exactly the bad guys. Their leader draws a wicked blade. We just want to skin you, squires, and hang you up to drain every drop. Or maybe peel the boy's skin first to lure in the man-eating monsters. This guy is a literal psychopath, no joke. Another mercenary crawls out of the depths. Turns out, their superiors gave them one specific, brutal mission for this trial. Arthur's heart is racing, but the mercenary leader just keeps that malevolent, dark aura flaring with a twisted grin. The goal is simple. Ensure every single novice from the kingdom of Oakhaven fails their knighthood trial, permanently. Isabella pales as she recognizes them. These are the Shadow Raiders, the monsters who hunt noble novices for sport. The realization hits them like a truck. Arthur and his colleagues are suddenly in a desperate fight for their lives. Isabella's scan is even worse. They're all rank 3 or higher, and the leader, he's a rank 5 monster. Arthur feels that cold knot of dread. Facing a group of veterans is bad, but a rank 5, that's a total nightmare. His current power caps at rank 4 territory. Trying to fight a rank 5 head-on is basically a very messy suicide mission. There's only one way out. He has to rank up right now, or they are all going to be corpse fodder. The leader signals the slaughter. Kill them all! Arthur doesn't hesitate. He charges straight into the line of fire to lead. He screams at his team to run. Split up. We meet back at the safe zone if we survive this mess. The mercenary leader just laughs. Look at the little cowards from Silverkeep run the moment things get spicy. He sends 2 killers after Arthur. Handle the brat. The rest of us will take care of the remaining livestock. 2 rank 3 assassins dive into the forest, chasing our hero through the trees like wolves after a panicked rabbit. They're actually impressed. The kid is fast, they say, grinning as they slowly close the gap through the thicket. But then, blink and you'd miss it. Arthur just vanishes. The forest goes silent, leaving the killers totally lost and confused. One assassin sneers, thinking it's a game. Hide and seek. I'm going to enjoy cutting your feet off, boy. Suddenly, whoosh. A spear erupts from the bushes, aimed straight at the chest of the most arrogant killer. The assassin mocks the attempt. "A squire's toy, please." He readies himself to swat the blade away like a fly. Big mistake. The spear hits like a falling star, shattering his ribs and sending him flying backward with insane force. The impact is unreal. He's launched through the air, snapping massive trees like toothpicks as he crashes through the forest. His partner is frozen. He calls out, but there's no answer. His friend is dead before he even hit the ground. Arthur steps out from the shadows, eyes cold. "Is that it? I expected more from a supposed professional killer." He's got 3 more projectiles ready between his fingers. "Honestly, you're a lot weaker than the stories said." The remaining assassin checks his magical compass. A novice from Silver Keep? This literally should not be happening. How did a kid just delete a rank 3 veteran? He looks at Arthur's status, and his blood runs cold. Checking his attributes, Alaric realizes he is already terrifyingly strong. 60 points at just rank 2. No time for talk, though. Our boy is cold and ruthless, sending his blades flying straight into the assassin's chest. The killer drops to his knees, groaning in pure agony at the feet of the man he was supposed to murder. Fight over. Alaric knew he had this in the bag. With power equal to a rank 4 knight, a rank 3 marauder never stood a chance. That whole splitting up idea, total bait. He just wanted to lure the enemies in and pick them off one by one. Smart move, honestly, because he was still just a tiny bit away from hitting the experience needed for rank 3. Back in the Old Kingdom, he learned the grim truth. Kill a rival, take their crest, and you can literally steal their power. The system pings, 2 rank 3 outlaws down. That is 200 experience points just waiting to be claimed. Our hero doesn't hesitate for a second, telling the system to strip the life force from those bandits immediately. Boom, rank 3 achieved. The system offers its congrats as Alaric officially levels up his combat power. And the boost, absolutely insane. His stats skyrocket, and he is already halfway to hitting the next rank. 76 total points. That is higher than your average rank 5 knight, who usually sits at 60. He is a monster. He grabs the dead man's crest, yanks his weapon out of the corpse, and turns back. Time to save his crew. While he was breezing through his fights, though, his friends, they were having an absolute nightmare of a time. One of the outlaws mocks Julian and the medic, shocked to find such high-tier classes in a place like this. To these killers, finding talented but innocent novices is like a dream. They decide to torture them to death slowly. Alara is desperate, burning through her magic to heal her friend while praying the group leader makes it back. Julian is a total mess, but he tells the girl not to worry. He knows Alaric. He knows he will show up. He jokes that his friend usually runs from girls, but if his family is in danger, he will walk through hell to save them. And right on cue, just as things look completely hopeless, the hero appears from the dark forest. The outlaws are literally talking about skinning them alive when Alaric steps out from the shadows like a legend. No warnings, just action. He hurls iron quills, pinning several bandits to the trees and ending them instantly. Julian's face lights up with pure joy. He knew it. He freaking knew his friend would never leave them hanging. The enemy leader is panicking, screaming, "Who is doing this?" But he gets nothing but terrifying silence in return. He cannot see Alaric anywhere. He starts wondering if the kid got some legendary Shadowwalk class or something. Pure fear kicks in. The marauder realizes he needs to bolt, and fast, before his unseen captor finishes him off. Alara watches with wide eyes as this big, scary captain suddenly turns tail and runs like a terrified dog. But Alaric, he is not letting that man escape, not after he spent minutes torturing his brother-in-arms. He charges forward with pure power, launching a heavy spear he took from a manticore earlier in the hunt. Thwack right in the spine. The leader groans, hits the dirt face first, and just like that, game over. All threats neutralized. Alaric checks if Alara is okay, and she finally realizes, yes, her comrade really is back. But there is no time for a happy reunion. Julian is fading fast, and it looks bad. Like really, really bad. Alara is crying now. She is out of mana, and the wounds are just too deep for her healing magic to fix. Julian starts coughing up blood, smiling weakly at his friend. "I knew you would come back, man," he whispers. Then comes the goodbye. He tells them he cannot follow them anymore and inevitably collapses to the cold ground. He thanks them for the adventures, saying these memories are his greatest treasure as the light leaves his eyes. "Keep going," he mumbles, asking them to pass the king's judgment without him. It is a total tear-jerker. Knowing she could not save him, the healer cries out in pure desperation, begging for Julian's life to return. Alaric stands there with his head bowed, then suddenly, he tosses one of the crippled outlaws into Julian's lap. Wait, what? He intentionally left 6 bandits alive so his friends could deliver the final blow and steal their levels. It is the ultimate life hack. Kill them, level up, and the system will fully restore your health and mana. Alara stops crying, remembering the rules of the crests, while Julian feels super embarrassed for acting out a death scene. Alaric just smirks. He knew his dying buddy was laying it on thick. "Go ahead," he says. "Take your revenge." The tables have turned. The bandits are helpless, and the crew is about to show them exactly what justice feels like. The last outlaw looks up at his new executioners and realizes, yeah, this is not going to end well for him. The squad smirks, calling their next move karma, the kind of traditional hospitality these uninvited guests deserve for trespassing. Meanwhile, deep within the Lowland Empire, the Research Bureau and the Shadows Department are in a state of absolute meltdown. One by one, the elite marauders are waking up in the real world after their soul links were severed, recalling how a total rookie from Avalon brutally slaughtered them. A high-ranking officer demands to know how their invasion force got wrecked. Apparently, the enemy city has a hidden class capable of crushing their best men. At the same time, in the Kingdom of Albion, the news reaching the High Scholar isn't what anyone expected as they track the invaders' movements. The Scholar tells the Grand Commander that the situation is grim, as Lady Isabella's squad has officially crossed paths with the Lowland Marauders. Upon hearing this, Lady Gwendolyn falls into total despair, knowing her sister isn't a fighter and certainly isn't ready for a bloodbath like this. The Grand Commander sighs, noting that no newcomer has ever survived an encounter with those butchers, making it necessary to prepare the grief counseling teams. However, the Scholar stammers awkwardly, shaking his head as he points toward the massive scrying screen to show what's actually happening. According to the live data, not only did the girl survive the encounter with the Marauders, but she actually managed to level up right after. This revelation leaves the entire command room in a state of pure shock, with no one able to comprehend how such a thing is possible. Staring at the data, Sterling wonders how a rookie could possibly level up after facing such terrifying, high-tier enemies. He speculates that maybe the enemies were somehow helping them hunt monsters, but the Scholar immediately shuts that theory down. No way. That leaves only one insane possibility. Isabella and her ragtag group actually managed to kill every single one of those elite invaders. The commander's glass of water shatters as it hits the floor, and he bolts upright, completely startling the instructor with his sudden intensity. He doesn't waste a heartbeat, demanding to see Alaric's team data immediately to find out who these kids really are. The researcher quickly pulls up the party statistics, confirming the impossible. Every single member of the group has already reached at least level 3. Sterling is buzzing with excitement now, knowing it would be impossible to grow that fast unless they had actually slain those marauders. Gwendolyn is still skeptical, though, pointing out that her sister is a dedicated healer, and the martial artist in the group has 0 damage output. That means Alaric must have done the heavy lifting, yet his level and specific class are still showing up as a total mystery to the military. The Scholar finally digs into the glitch, announcing he's figured out why the boys' information is a complete blank on their end. It all comes down to his soul compass. Everyone in the Forbidden Wilds needs one to sync their data, but Alaric is using an absolute relic. It's an ancient, first-generation model that doesn't even have a connection to the modern Mana network anymore, purely old-school hardware. That piece of junk hasn't seen a maintenance shop in over 10 years, leaving the instructor fuming that anyone would rely on such primitive gear. Despite the technical setback, Commander Sterling finds the situation fascinating and orders the researcher to dig up Alaric's real-life identity immediately. Back in the wilds, Alaric is impressed by a unique perk. Leveling up completely restores his physical state to perfect condition every single time. Isabella is also staring at her hands, feeling a massive surge in her raw strength that she never thought possible. Alaric informs the group he's unlocked an Earth Knight skill, allowing him to crush nearby enemies, while Isabella shares her own progress. She's gained the Physician's Heart ability, boosting her healing magic to a level that's significantly more potent than before. Our protagonist just nods, knowing everything is on track. The medical class isn't about being flashy, it's about being practical when blood starts spilling. Seeing the growth, Alaric's teammate asks if they can finally finish off the rest of the invaders, since he's now at a higher level than them. That's when the hero reveals the big one. He's already reached level 4. The boy's jaw drops as he stares in total disbelief. They are floored, wondering how he could have climbed the ranks that fast, especially when they see his total attributes have hit 96. That's the equivalent of a level 8 elite explorer. Alaric calmly explains that he didn't just start fighting when they met up. While he was escaping earlier, he took out those 2 thugs who were tailing him, hitting level 3 before even returning to the group. His childhood friend is absolutely indignant that the squad leader is still miles ahead of him, while Isabella asks Alaric what the plan is. The hero mentions he overheard the enemy captain. They were only Team 2, which means Team 1 is still out there hunting. Half a day later, deep in the beginner forest, a pack of enemy soldiers is marching through the brush, laughing about their situation. They're making fun of the reports that Team 2 got wiped out by rookies, mocking them and saying they should all just retire in shame. However, the enemy captain tells his men to keep their guards up. When the high command sends a warning, they aren't joking around. He tells them to stay sharp, because the situation might be a lot more dangerous than it looks on the surface. One soldier just scoffs, asking why they should be scared when the level cap in this zone is 5, and their entire group is maxed out. Meanwhile, crouched behind a massive fallen trunk, Alaric's group prepares for an ambush against 9 level 5 warriors. Even though his friends are shaking, the protagonist tells them to hold steady. With his current stats, even if he can't kill them all, he's going to hurt them. He knows that if they play this right, these arrogant soldiers are about to learn exactly why you should never underestimate an underdog. To survive, they have to strike first. Defending is a death sentence. The captain gives the signal, it's time to go on the offensive. Suddenly, the captain spots a lone warrior charging out from the tree line, spear gripped tight. The assassins lock onto their target. Their magic stones ping. He's only a level 4 novice. One bandit can't believe a rookie actually survived this long in the Forbidden Wilds. The captain sees an easy prize. A kill like this means a promotion back at the citadel. He orders his men to finish him immediately. The chase is on, but Julian's in trouble. The mercenaries are staying in a tight formation, making them hard to pick off. The original play. Julian lures them in, then Kalen hits them with a massive area of effect blast to break their spirit. But there's a problem. There are too many of them. If Kalen doesn't wipe them all out in one go, the survivors will call for backup. This mission just got way more complicated. One runner gets away, and the entire kingdom's guard will be on their heads. Still, our heroes find a way. They'll take the whole group down at once without ever having to split them up. Julian starts to glow. Electric blue energy crackles around him, and his presence suddenly feels heavy, absolutely terrifying. He dives straight at the bandits. His plan: he needs to spill a little of his own blood to make them bloodthirsty and reckless. Some bandits are furious, others are just confused. Why would a level 4 novice stop running and fight them head-on? The gap closes. One assassin laughs, wondering if the kid has finally lost his mind or is just that scared. "Out of my way, brat," he snarls. He swings his blade, aiming to take Julian's arm clean off. Here's the crazy part: Julian doesn't dodge. He takes the hit directly just to keep moving forward. He's not in the kill zone yet. The bandit is stunned. Julian keeps running, bleeding but focused. He's luring them deeper into the center of the trap. Now they've got him surrounded. Julian's right in the middle, but he needs them just a few inches closer for this to work. He dances through their ranks, weaving past blades and dodging lethal strikes to pull every single mercenary into the center. The enemy commander is losing it. "He's level 4, he screams. "How can none of you level 5 veterans touch him?" Then, one scout checks his high-grade magic lens. His eyes widen as the data finally flickers into view. The first scan was too fast, but this new one is crystal clear. He sees Julian's hidden stats, and his heart stops. He can't see everything, but Julian's agility. It's sitting at 30 points. For a level 4, that is literally impossible. The captain is speechless. A novice with the speed of a high-ranking knight. This information makes zero sense. Another bandit scoffs. "That lens is broken," he shouts. "I'm level 5 and my agility isn't even 20. But the captain is trembling. High-grade magic lenses don't make mistakes. If Julian is this fast, he's not running away. He realizes the terrifying truth. Julian was never the prey. He was just pretending to be caught this whole time. "It's a trap," the captain bellows. "Turn back, retreat now before it's too late." The bandits try to scramble, but they've already committed. They fell for the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Game over. Julian has them perfectly positioned in the death zone. There's nowhere left for them to run. Suddenly, the sky splits open. A bolt of golden lightning crashes down, sealing their fate once and for all. Kalen, the master martial artist, is ready. He's finally unleashing his newly mastered secret technique. Earthquake, he slams the ground with legendary force, launching every single assassin into the air, completely defenseless. Julian's electric aura flares up again. He looks up at his friend Kalen and gives a quick nod of thanks. "I've got it from here," Julian says. He steps forward, the air around him humming with lethal power. He fires a barrage of enchanted quills with pinpoint accuracy. One by one, the mercenaries drop, dead before they even hit the ground. Just like that, the entire squad is wiped out. Kalen stares at the carnage, absolutely floored by his friend's raw power. 9 level 5 warriors. In one breath, Kalen mutters. He's starting to wonder if Julian is even human anymore. The system pings. Julian just netted 2,000 experience points. He's officially hit the level cap for the beginner territory. Level 5 achieved. Now, every high-tier enemy Julian kills will grant him double the experience. Talk about a power-up. Alara is beaming. She's never seen anyone dominate a battlefield like that. Kalen, he's just ready for his turn to level up. "Is it our turn to evolve yet?" he asks. Julian just smiles. He's already thought ahead for his team. He didn't kill them all. He left 4 of the strongest bandits alive, but crippled, ready for his friends to finish off. He explains the plan. He took out the monsters earlier to boost the group, and now it's time for them to reap the rewards. Once they all hit level 5, they're making a break for the finish line. No more holding back. Kalen and Alara are hyped. It's finally their time to ascend as they move deeper into the dark forest. Arthur warns the others to stay sharp, because the road to the finish line is crawling with beasts. But there is a problem. Word is, the closer they get to the border, the more vicious the monsters become. There might even be a high-ranked boss nearby. Suddenly, a bone-chilling roar echoes through the woods, sending a wave of pure terror through the entire group. From the shadows where the sound erupted, they find 2 chimera-faced beasts dead on the ground, their bodies completely shredded. Alara stares at the carnage, trembling, and wonders what kind of nightmare could do this to monsters of such an elite tier. Curious about the killer, Arthur triggers his spirit sight ability, narrowing his focus to see what others cannot. He spots a faint trail of golden light, the same aura he noticed before, and realizes this golden creature is the one responsible. Cedric is intrigued, but right at that second, the creature they were just talking about lunges out and fires an energy blast. Arthur is still distracted by the corpses. and doesn't even notice the attack coming from behind him. The energy blast slams into them, hitting both Lyra and Arthur's childhood friend with a massive impact. After knocking the two girls aside, the creature charges straight for our hero without wasting a single breath. Shaking off the shock, 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒍𝒗𝒆𝒔 screams at Arthur to watch out. One hit from that thing could mean instant death. The creature's strike hits Arthur dead on, while he just stands there, leaving the rest of the squad completely horrified. However, because Arthur is way too high level for this newbie zone, the attack barely even tickles him. Before the monster can even react, the protagonist reaches out and snatches it out of the air with zero effort. The terrifying beast turns out to be just a tiny hamster, leaving Alara and Lyra floored by Arthur's insane reaction speed. Arthur isn't impressed, though, asserting that the animal isn't fast at all and calling it nothing more than a fat rat. The hamster gets absolutely livid at being called slow, squeaking that it only got caught because it was being careless. Seeing the little guy's confidence, Arthur actually lets it go just to give it one more chance to prove its worth. Taking the bait, the hamster glows with golden energy again, spinning like a top as it launches a high-speed charge. 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒍𝒗𝒆𝒔 panics, asking why he'd let it go when a single bite from that thing already slaughtered 2 elite mutants. To show off his true strength, Arthur catches the hamster a second time, looking even more bored than he did before. He slams the creature into the dirt, telling it once and for all that it is way too slow to challenge him. Arthur then starts tossing the hamster from hand to hand like a ball, not giving the poor thing a second to breathe. The group is left speechless, wondering how Arthur became so incredibly fast and powerful in such a short time. The hero is now so strong that a monster capable of killing 2 mutants is forced to surrender in his hands. Cedric notes that the hamster seems to have given up on running, while 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒍� is still reeling from the shock of it all. Arthur wonders if he should tame this rat for combat, but decides it is better to just loot the high-level corpses nearby. He reminds the group they are almost at level 4 and tells them to hurry and collect the loot before finding more targets. Lyra thinks the hamster is actually quite cute, but Alara just feels disappointed that her own skills seem so ordinary now. Elsewhere in the forest, a man walks with a smug grin, happy to finally reach the end of the trial lands. Just ahead of him is the finish line, the gates to the magnificent great city of 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒔. Without losing a second, he starts marching up the massive palace stairs, heading straight for the main entrance. The gates swing open, and a squad of knights emerges, congratulating the traveler for passing the difficult judgment test. Their leader, Sir Gareth, welcomes the boy and officially recognizes him as a new Phantom Star Explorer. However, the captain places a hand on the boy's shoulder and breaks the news. Someone else already took first place. He adds that the specific ranking doesn't really matter, and just surviving the trial is a huge achievement for a newcomer. The traveler accepts that he isn't first, but opens his inventory to show the guards that his level is incredibly high. The soldiers are stunned. The ranking is based on points, and this guy has enough monster trophies to break the records. Sir Gareth asks how a single explorer managed to kill so many beasts, and the man just laughs it off as nothing. He reveals he is the second son of House Hawthorne, and will soon be a top-tier member of the Sterling Order Guild. He boasts about the elite special training he received before he even set foot in the trial lands. The soldiers immediately realize he belongs to one of the 10 legendary guilds that protect the city of 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒔. Sir Gareth offers his formal congratulations, noting that with these points, he is easily one of the best in the city. Lord Bennett just stands there with a smirk, soaking up the praise for his supposed greatness. Arthur isn't just playing around. For him, taking top honors in the kingdom's trial is only the first step toward his true goal. With a chilling, dark aura, he makes a vow. Given enough time, this entire Shadow Realm will belong to him and him alone. Meanwhile, deep within the novice hunting grounds of the Darkwood, our party of heroes is searching for prey to finally level up. As they trek further, Alistair notices something feels off. It's too quiet. They haven't spotted a single beast in ages, which is never a good sign. He jokes that maybe their little hamster, who Alina is totally obsessed with, scared them off, but suddenly, a massive roar tears through the forest. The ground shakes, and the team freezes in terror. Sharp, monstrous claws emerge from the darkness as more and more shadows begin to move. In an instant, it's a trap. A whole pack of shadow stalker wolves emerges from the brush, completely surrounding our heroes with nowhere to run. But one beast towers over the rest, its claws glowing with a terrifying, ancient power. It's the ruler of the beginner zone, the Darkwood King. The king is ready to slaughter every human in sight. It hits them then. They unknowingly walked right into the boss's private throne room. With the pack leader coordinating their every move, the explorers find themselves boxed in by snapping jaws and glowing eyes. Alistair is shaking, remembering the rumors. The Darkwood King is an unkillable nightmare for novices. Meeting it usually means a one-way trip to the grave. Every story ends the same way. No one survives an encounter with this beast, and the team feels the weight of certain death. Arthur grips his blade, his hands trembling. He could probably escape this mess alone, but his friends, they'd never make it out alive. Seeing no other way, he realizes it's do or die. Alistair shouts that running is impossible. They have to stand their ground right now. With their backs against the wall, they agree to take the boss down together. Arthur takes the lead and charges straight at the king. As Arthur rushes forward, Cedric slams the earth, using his earthquake ability to stun the smaller wolves and clear a path. Arthur doesn't look back, trusting his team as his childhood friend leaps into the air, shattering the ground with a massive impact. Alina isn't staying on the sidelines either. She quickly coats Arthur's weapon in a lethal poison, boosting his lethality for the final strike. Arthur calls for cover, focusing every single one of his abilities into his spear, before hurling it at the boss with everything he's got. He's aiming for a one-shot kill to end this nightmare instantly. But then, the unthinkable happens. The spear just bounces off the beast's thick hide. Total desperation sinks in as the weapon fails. The Darkwood King lets out a triumphant roar, signaling his pack to launch a brutal counterattack. The wolves charge in a frenzied wave. Even though they're low level, their hive-mind coordination makes them twice as dangerous as usual. Alina and Cedric are taking heavy hits, struggling to stay upright. Cedric gasps, asking if there's any other way to survive this madness. Arthur knows the score. The king's hide is like steel, and they're being buried under a mountain of fur and teeth. It looks hopeless. But amidst the chaos and Arthur's frantic movements, the hamster finally wakes up from its nap, looking very confused and very annoyed. The little guy looks around, sizes up the situation, and clearly blames the wolves for ruining its peaceful sleep. Big mistake. While Arthur fights for his life against the pack, the hamster taps into its hidden power, pushing its abilities to the absolute limit. It blurs out of Arthur's hood, cutting through the air like a literal bullet and piercing right through the Darkwood King's chest. Arthur's jaw drops. He can't believe it. This tiny little rat just bit through the impenetrable skin of a boss-tier monster. To make sure he isn't dreaming, he activates his spirit sight. He sees the massive wound and realizes the tide of battle just shifted. If they hit that specific spot, they can actually win. The first spear throw failed only because the boss's natural armor was too thick. But with that raw wound exposed, even a basic attack could deal massive damage. It's time for round 2. Arthur launches a new assault, this time using one of the razor boar spines he'd been saving. He isn't holding anything back now. He fires the projectile, lacing it with electrical energy, and it slams directly into the king's exposed chest wound with a sickening thud. It's working. Arthur realizes that by using his spirit sight to target the weak point, he can actually put this beast down for good. Suddenly, the projectile glows with a blinding light. The impossible happens. A 200 times critical hit triggers out of nowhere. The rest of the group is stunned. Cedric is blinking, unable to comprehend how one single strike just caused that much destruction. Even Arthur is shocked as a golden system message pops up in front of him. Novice boss defeated. He actually did it. He had planned for a long, grueling struggle, But that insane critical hit finished the monster before it could even react. He realizes that since his class change, he hasn't seen a single crit, making this lucky strike feel like a gift from the gods. Now that their master is nothing but a corpse, the wolf pack loses its nerve and begins to scatter into the dark woods. They're trying to flee, but Arthur isn't done. He turns to his team and asks if they've got enough strength left for one more fight. They nod, eyes blazing with newfound courage. Arthur charges ahead, a predatory grin on his face as he stalks the retreating pack. Without their king to guide them, these wolves aren't killers anymore. They're just lambs waiting for the slaughter. Cedric and Alina think about the pain these beasts cause them and decide right then, not a single one is getting away. Time to stop running. Instead of wasting another second, the knights turn the tide, engaging the pack in a brutal counteroffensive that begins exterminating every single beast in sight. Arthur and Isabella aren't just bystanders anymore. They dive headfirst into the fray, taking down monsters with lethal precision without needing a single bit of help from anyone else. After a few minutes of pure carnage, the dust finally settles. It's a total shutout. Julian's squad secures a one-sided victory that leaves the battlefield silent. Nobody saw this coming. These supposed novices didn't just survive the night. They leveled up and slaughtered the area boss, pulling off an incredible feat that defies all logic. Our hero reveals his secret. He'd been weakening the wolves on purpose just so his friends could land the killing blows and grow stronger. Arthur looks at his friend, wondering what the next move is. Enough stalling. Now that the whole crew has gained enough experience to rank up, the next step is simple. We march straight to the finish line. Fast forward a bit, and the heroes finally set eyes on the sterling citadel within the astral realm. It's the massive heart of the kingdom and the ultimate hub for every adventurer in the land. But then something weird happens. That little hamster, which had been hiding in Julian's hood forever, suddenly leaps out and bolts for the horizon, leaving Isabella frantic with worry. Julian just watches it go, totally calm. He tells her it's fine. He never had any intention of caging a creature's spirit, especially one that fought so hard alongside them in that final showdown. A little deeper into the city, the group finally pulls up to the grand reception hall for the night's trial. The clerk offers his congratulations, and Julian immediately asks to see the official roll of honor. That's when the mood shifts. Lord Hugo, a spoiled brat from a powerful noble house, struts over with a punchable smirk, mocking Isabella for being a mere maid trying to play knight. The arrogant noble offers to kindly show Julian the rankings himself. Julian, meanwhile, isn't even surprised. He knew he'd run into this jerk sooner or later. With his head held high, Hugo points at the top of the list, claiming the number 1 spot while laughing at the trash, who barely managed to crawl their way up from the bottom. His band of goons starts chiming in, calling Julian's crew a bunch of nobodies, and questioning how losers like them even have the nerve to ask about their standing. Julian's mind flashes back to the truth. His sister slaved away in the Hugo household just to pay for his training, and this brat didn't just harass her. He used their brother's illness to humiliate them. Arthur has heard enough. He steps forward, ready to shut the brat's mouth for good, but Julian stops him with a steady hand. It's not time for fists yet. Julian keeps his cool, offering a mock apology to the crowd before dropping a massive truth bomb. These rankings are about to be completely rewritten, with his team sweeping the top 3. For a heartbeat, you could hear a pin drop. Then, the whole hall explodes into mocking laughter as the bullies lose their minds over Julian's delusions. Julian just looks at his crew. "Time to stop pretending," he says. Isabella nods, and Arthur taps his rune bracelet, a wild grin spreading across his face. No more holding back. The group decides to show the world exactly what they're made of, stepping up to the massive screen to display their magical inventories for everyone to see. The laughter dies instantly. Jaws hit the floor as the crowd realizes that the remains of an entire army of monsters are sitting in the possession of just 3 people. Hugo is shaking. He stares at the screen, realizing they don't just have common beasts. They've harvested shadowless wolves, creatures that are nightmares even for veterans. Then comes the kicker, the shadowless Wolf King. Hugo screams that it's a lie, refusing to believe a group of bottom feeders could ever take down a boss of that caliber. Julian doesn't even waste his breath. He just points at the screen and tells the brat that the ranking system will decide what's real and what's a fantasy. Suddenly, a chime rings out. The magical notification flashes, and the roll of honor begins to update in real time, confirming that every single point they claimed is 100% legit. It's a total eclipse. That arrogant rich boy has to stand there and watch as the losers he mocked systematically seize the top 3 spots on the board. But Julian's still got more. He pulls out the gear of the lowland marauders, and the young noble's face goes pale when he realizes those are the watches of elite enemy assassins. Another hater tries to save face, calling them liars. He argues there's no way rookies could survive a run-in with those killers, and asks if anyone else actually saw these invaders. The crowd mumbles in agreement since no one else encountered them. He demands the leader disqualify Julian's team, and the jealous mob starts calling for the liars to be punished. That's when a new presence enters the room. A man steps through the crowd, announcing that the marauders were very real, and the military just didn't have time to warn the public. It's Commander Lucas, Vice Commander of the Royal Guard. He admits he was shocked by the news, but his superiors gave him a direct order: praise Julian and his friends for their service. The room goes silent. The military itself is backing them. Lucas announces that as a reward for their heroics, the kingdom is boosting their loot and equipment to a whole new level. The second and third place winners, Arthur and Isabella, are granted a class gear. But Julian, for taking first place, he's awarded a legendary S-class treasure. Julian and his friends are beaming. They earned this. Meanwhile, the envious crowd is left reeling, knowing these newbies now have elite gear that most knights only dream of. Now, Julian's going to break it down for us. Pay attention, because he's about to explain exactly how these gear levels work and why they're such a big deal. Julian turns to the crowd, asking if anyone else faced the raiders. The answer, a big fat 0. No one saw anything. That's all the haters needed. One guy starts screaming for a disqualification, calling our talented group nothing but dirty liars. The mob turns ugly. You can feel the jealousy in the air as they start chanting for the frauds to be punished. Just as things get heated, a soldier steps up. He confirms it. The raiders were real, but the news just hadn't spread yet. This is Lord Alistair, Vice Commander of the Royal Legion. He's actually been ordered by the top brass to reward Julian. Suddenly, the haters look like idiots. It clicks for everyone. This group wasn't lying. They really did face those monsters alone. As a massive thank you, the Legion is bumping up their rewards. We're talking better pay and top-tier military equipment. Second and third place land A-class gear, but Julian, for coming in first, he's taking home a legendary S-class reward. The boys are losing it with joy. Meanwhile, the jealous crowd is just baffled. High-tier gear for rookies? This is insane. Let's break the fourth wall for a second. Time to explain exactly how this kingdom's equipment ranking system actually works. In the realm of the Abyssal Crown, everything is ranked from F to S rank. F is absolute trash. But once you hit rank B or C, you're talking elite-tier quality. Most vanguards would kill for rank B gear, but Julian's equipment and his secret class, they're exactly what every jealous rival dreams of having. Enter Cedric, a noble brat who just couldn't handle the truth. He lost his top spot and tumbled down to fourth place, and he's absolutely seething. He starts screaming that the system is rigged. Julian comes from a family of dirt-poor peasants, so in his mind, there's no way Julian could be better than him. Julian tells him to pipe down. The Knight Command already verified the results, and he warns Cedric, "Keep insulting my family, and things are going to get ugly." But Cedric is beyond help. He lunges forward, teeth bared, shouting that Julian's family are nothing but low-born servants and peasants. He mocks Julian's siblings, calling his sister a maid and his brother a weakling, claiming Julian was just a nobody who got beaten up every single day. That was it. Julian's blood hit the boiling point, especially when Cedric bragged that Julian's sister was still a servant in his house and he'd come for her soon. Cedric tries to strike, but Julian is a blur. He moves with such impossible speed that the arrogant noble didn't even see the counterattack coming. A massive gash opens across Cedric's chest. Blood sprays everywhere. The poor fool didn't even realize he'd been cut until his lungs started burning. The crowd is dead silent. Even Julian's own allies are stunned. They knew he was strong, but they didn't expect him to actually drop the hammer on a noble. Lord Alistair, the vice commander, watches with wide eyes. He can't believe this rookie just full-on attacked the heir of House Valerius. One of the young knights whispers that Cedric's family runs one of the top 10 merchant guilds in the kingdom. Basically, they're untouchable. Gasping for air, Cedric asks if Julian has any idea what kind of consequences are coming for him. But Julian, he doesn't flinch. He looks at the scum and tells him straight, anyone who threatens his family deserves to suffer, and he couldn't care less about some noble name. Julian realizes that in this hellish world, family is the only thing left. If you put them in danger, you'd better be ready for the end. He walks toward the boy, who's definitely shaking in his boots now, and not a single person in the room steps in to stop him. Julian makes it clear as day. He won't hesitate to fight for his own. It doesn't matter who you are or how much power you think you have. Threaten his blood, and he'll send you straight to the afterlife without a second thought. You'll be nothing but a bad memory. Cedric starts bawling like a baby, and just like that, Julian ends it. The system pings, 6 experience points stolen. Julian is actually annoyed. Only 6 points. For a talented, noble family, this guy was surprisingly worthless. Talk about a disappointment. The only silver lining. Dying in the abyssal crown isn't a permanent death in the real world, but the political fallout. That's going to be a nightmare. The Lord Commander sees the fire in Julian's eyes. The kid is reckless, yeah, but the talent is undeniable. His expectations were just shattered in the best way. He silences the room with a look. He declares it self-defense and orders everyone to keep their mouths shut about this entire incident. Now for the loot. The top 3 follow him to claim their rewards, while Julian's friends whisper about how insanely confident he was back there. They gather under the flickering glow of the command chamber. Alistair apologizes for the delay and reveals the gifts the military has prepared. As Julian reaches out, the first chest bursts open on its own, emitting a blinding golden radiance that fills the entire room. Alina receives the Saint's Jade of Vitality. This is the kind of legendary item that every healer in the kingdom would give their right arm for. It grants a 15-point boost to both mentality and physique, while making her healing spells and potion-making twice as effective. Next, the other boy receives a set of rank a heavy armor, the obsidian golem plate. It looks like it could stop a charging dragon. This beastly gear adds 16 points to defense and strength, while cutting all incoming damage by 16%. Total tank status. Finally, it's Julian's turn. His eyes light up as he sees his prize, but the system says it needs a high-level appraisal scroll first. It's a pair of masterfully crafted daggers. The vice commander is floored. He didn't expect the reward to be this rare or complex. His assistant notes that if it needs appraisal, it must be a superior artifact, something far beyond the reach of most rookies. Luckily, Alistair has a spare scroll on him. He uses it, and the daggers absorb the magic, revealing their true, terrifying stats. They grant 9 points to strength, piercing, and agility, but the real kicker, the unique effect hidden within the steel. For every tribulation consumed, the critical hit chance climbs and climbs, all the way up to a maximum of 90%. The vice commander thinks Julian got a raw deal. He figures a rookie won't deal enough damage to make a 90% crit rate worth it. His colleagues agree, saying it's unfair after Julian worked so hard. They even ask if the kid can just pick a different item. Alistair says it'd be a massive headache to swap, but he's willing to try. However, Julian just smiles and shakes his head. He's not trading. Contrary to what they think, these daggers are the best equipment he could have ever hoped for. See, Julian's critical hit damage is already 200 times higher than a normal person's, but his trigger rate was always the problem. These blades fix that. They boost his crit frequency by 10%, scaling all the way up to 90%. It's the perfect artifact for a high-stakes fighter. If Julian doesn't want to trade, that's it. The tutorial phase is officially over. Alistair isn't budging. If he doesn't want to trade that gear, he won't, not after finally surviving those grueling initiation trials. Finally heading back home after crushing the trials, Caleb gets a chilling warning from his mentor. Someone is definitely tracking his every move. He needs to watch his back. After what feels like forever, they reach the capital city of 𝒂𝒑𝒏, and Caleb still can't believe he passed the Squire evaluation so easily. He's itching to tell his siblings the big news, but as he turns the corner to his house, things get weird. There are gold-trimmed luxury carriages parked right out front. Caleb wonders if one of his neighbors suddenly struck it rich or something. He pulls out a monashard to record the scene, but decides not to overthink it. He steps inside, calling out to his family. He's home at last, ready to brag about his exam, but he stops dead in his tracks. A stranger is just sitting there on his couch. There are several muscle-bound guards patrolling his living room, and he doesn't recognize a single one. But they know him. They know he's the rookie who just aced the trials. The man on the sofa is Cedric Thorne, the older brother of the arrogant noble brat Caleb humbled during the fight. Caleb demands to know why he's trespassing. But before he can even finish his sentence, crack, a heavy blow lands on the back of his head. The door slams shut behind him. Caleb is pinned down by two thugs. Cedric sneers, claiming his younger brother needs a healer for his mental trauma after the fight. He has the nerve to say Caleb's family are the real oppressors here. Pure hypocrisy. He tells Caleb that even if his brother is barred from the trials for a month, he can make sure Caleb is gone forever. He raises a mace, ready to bash Caleb's skull in while he's helpless. It's looking grim. But then, boom, the front door is kicked off its hinges, slamming right into the two thugs holding him down. The force is insane. Even the noble idiot with the mace is knocked to the floor, scrambling to figure out who just crashed his party. A voice booms through the room. It's the general. He looks at Caleb and sighs, asking why the boy didn't take his warning about being cautious seriously. The female officer with him steps forward, flashing a royal decree. She orders no one to move. This is now a high-level military operation. The thugs freeze. That old man. That's Grand Commander Sterling, the highest-ranking military authority in the entire kingdom. These fools have no idea. The military isn't here for the Thorns, they're here for Caleb. And Cedric just made the mistake of a lifetime by touching him. Cedric is shaking. He stammers, trying to figure out who this kid actually is and which powerful house he must belong to. Caleb slowly stands up, dusting himself off. Even he's in shock. The Grand Commander of the King's army is in his tiny house, just to see him. Because of their massive blunder, the thugs are shackled and hauled off to the city dungeons immediately. Caleb thanks General Sterling for the save, but has to ask, why go through all this trouble for a rookie? Sterling tells him to relax. He's here because Caleb and his team were absolutely legendary during the evaluation. After Caleb finished his run, his friends were already invited to join the Royal Guard. Now, the general is here to personally offer Caleb the same deal. The old man sighs, lighting a pipe filled with tobacco that's actually banned in 89 different provinces. This is it. Caleb's life is about to change. Sterling asks if Caleb understands what his new class actually means for the kingdom. See, every 20 levels, an explorer can evolve their class, which completely shifts their power. Most people end up with useless skills, some get weaker, some just plateau. But the military is always hunting for pure combat power, and from what they've seen, Caleb's potential is off the charts. The female officer steps closer. She wants to know if he's ready to sign up and start a career in the elite forces. They aren't here to bully him, though. They've done their homework and know all about his family's struggling situation. Here's the hook. If he joins, the crown will pay for every single gold coin of his brother's medical treatment and guarantee his family is never touched again. It's a perfect offer. Caleb goes quiet, thinking it over. They tell him to take his time. He just needs to contact the officer by tomorrow if he accepts. He watches them walk toward the door, but then he speaks up. I refuse. Total silence. Both officers are stunned. Why would anyone turn down the Royal Guard? Caleb knows it's a good deal. He knows his combat class is valuable, but he's not falling for it. He asks them if they remember the drunken brawler class that appeared years ago. The military hyped that guy up and used him for everything. He was a hero until the military realized his skills were too inconsistent to be useful. Then, they tossed him aside like trash. Now he's a beggar in the slums. Caleb isn't going to be anyone's puppet. He'll handle the Thorn family himself and move his family out of their reach. He'd rather depend on his own strength than the protection of a government that discards people when they're no longer convenient. The officer gets defensive, arguing that humanity is at war and his power could save thousands. Caleb doesn't care. He's not a saint. He's just a guy who wants his family safe. As the officer tries to keep arguing, Sterling holds up a hand. The general gets it. You can't force someone to change their entire life's philosophy in 5 minutes. But he drops a truth bomb. Caleb's brother is running out of time, and just being a solo fighter won't pay the bills in this brutal world. So Sterling makes a bet. For 1 month, the military will protect Caleb's house and his family. In that month, Caleb has to earn enough gold to pay for his brother's surgery on his own. If he fails, he has to enlist and serve the army forever. Julian stays silent, weighing the gamble in his head. Then a sharp, confident smirk. He's in. The bet is on. He swears to pay up if he fails, but time is ticking. He needs to head back to the Gloomspire wastes to start grinding for gold. A quick note to his brother, heading back to the front. Julian can't stay in these slums anymore. To keep his family safe from the shadows, he has to move out. It's not going to be easy, but he needs a massive payday. Finally, back in Gloomspire. New gear, fresh registration. Time to turn hunting into cold, hard cash. First stop, the Guild. Beginners have to sign up or get slaughtered. Lone wolves don't last long out here. Guilds offer protection and training, standard stuff for rookies. Julian, he's just looking for the best fit. The clerk looks up. Julian Thorn. Her expression sours instantly. Bad news. He's blacklisted. Turns out, offending the House of Blackwood was a death sentence for his career. No guild will touch him. He's stuck in the neutral zone, surrounded by teams getting ready. Is his journey over before it even starts? Suddenly, a girl approaches. Lost, looking for the best prey. For just 100 crowns, she'll read his fortune. Meet Alara, a level 29 seer. Julian isn't buying it. He turns away. Sorry, I don't believe in fate. He's not one for superstitions. She won't let it go. First one's free. Well, since it's on the house, Julian figures why not. Time to see if there's anything to this. The seer's board starts glowing with a golden light. She chants the ancient words, eyes clouded. You're in a crisis, she whispers. You need to move. Her advice, head to the Monarch's Vale. He's being watched, but his pursuers can't strike inside the safe zone. Most rookies hit the Cinder Fields, but there's likely an assassin waiting there to slit his throat. Triumph Crag is suicide. It's level 15+, but the Monarch's Vale. It's for level 10s. Tough, but Julian might just survive it. No traps, just raw power. If he has to go solo, then fine. He thanks the seer and heads out. Alara watches him go, confused. Her vision showed a group. Going alone, that's a death wish. Please don't die, she mutters. I don't need a bad review on my first day. Julian reaches the Monarch's Vale. The air is thick. Are the beasts here really that bad? A roar rips through the trees. Not just a roar, a challenge. Through the brush, he sees it. A massive, fanged forest titan. It's tossing people around like ragdolls. Level 11. A giant, shadow-furred ape. A group of level 10 knights is trying to hold it back. They're struggling, pushing their limits just to stay standing. The clash is brutal. From the shadows, Julian watches. These monsters are no joke. Could he actually take one? Wait, a scent hits him, heavy, musky, behind him. A pack of titans found him. He bolts. This wasn't bad luck. The system chimes with a red alert. The weakest one in this pack, level 12. Meanwhile, that group of knights finally downs their level 11 target. No one died. They're already bragging about the epic tale they'll tell at the tavern. The captain nods, but then chaos. They turn around, jaws dropping. They see Julian, alone, with a whole pack of titans on his heels. Did he walk into a nest? Should we help? One asks. The captain shakes his head. If we jump in, we're all dead. Run. They start to flee, but then they stop. Julian just dropped the first level 12 titan. Those daggers of his, pure lethality. 5 quick strikes and then boom, a massive critical hit. The knights can't believe it. He just soloed something stronger than their entire group's target. Julian isn't done. He's feeling the rhythm now. He eyes the next one. He winds up for a devastating blow. Another titan hits the dirt. History. Just one left. This time, a single strike critical, instant kill. The knights are beyond stunned. How is he doing this? Now it's just Julian and the alpha. This last one is the strongest of the bunch. The knight captain doubts Julian can pull it off again. Julian's down to his last 3 daggers. His lungs are burning. He's at his limit. Julian needs to pray his critical luck holds out. If he doesn't land a lethal blow before this beast shreds him, it's game over. He lets 3 daggers fly, a total gamble. The blades whistle through the air toward the raging silverback behemoth as it lets out a roar. Pure agony. The steel finds its mark, and Julian celebrates. Those last 3 blades actually triggered a fatal, high-tier critical hit. The massive ape's body slams into the dirt, lifeless. Taking down a monster like that usually requires a whole squad of knights, but Julian did it solo. Honestly, he didn't expect it to be this much of a grind. But with 3 new monster essences in his pouch, he's feeling much more confident. Solo life it is. He brushes himself off and pushes deeper into the wilderness, ready to keep the hunt going on his own terms. Once he's gone, the captain of the other team watches him leave with pure regret. He's kicking himself for not introducing himself earlier. He blames his comrades for holding him back, but let's be real. The truth is, he was too stunned to even move a muscle. Meanwhile, over in the verdant expanse, a crowd is gathering. No one expected to see this many high-level players in one spot. It's the Talon Guard of House Blackwood. These guys are all seasoned level 20 warriors, and they're waiting for one person, Julian. They corner a local woman, demanding to know where he is. They're here for blood, seeking revenge for the way Julian insulted House Blackwood. She trembles and points them toward the Valley of Crowns, saying he's likely hiding in the peaks. They don't handle the news gently. Shoving her to the ground, they warn that if she's lying, they'll be back to extract a price. Julian is in serious trouble now. This is House Blackwood's elite unit for sub-20 hunters. But as they leave, the girl just smirks. She knows something they don't. She whispers that fortune tellers never give the truth to the rude. She deliberately gave them a fake reading to lead them astray. Julian won't be caught off guard. In fact, she saw their future, and every single one of those knights is walking straight to their grave. After a full day of bloodshed, Julian hits level 6. Word in the taverns is that a behemoth's hide is worth a king's ransom. As long as he keeps this up, his brother's massive medical bills won't be an issue. But while he's distracted, a stranger approaches. A man asks if he wants to join a joint hunt. There's a massive party forming, with 3 separate teams already working together. The deal is simple. Join the raid and share the rewards the behemoths drop. They want to know if he's in or out. Julian admits he's a lone wolf without a squad, but the recruiter won't let it go. They just need one more person to start. The Valley of Crowns is a maze of jagged peaks, and at the summit of one, a group is already looking at the prize. There it is, an elite treasure chest. It's been sitting there, but those elite silverbacks guarding it are absolute mountain-sized tanks. They need someone to play the bait and distract one of them. Basically, a suicide mission while the 3 teams do the work. He lures one away, they jump the rest, and he gets a share when he returns. That's the promise, anyway. That chest is legendary, packed with better gear than any random monster. Julian needs those items, but he's not stupid. These people are sending him to his death. They clearly expect him to die so they can keep all the loot for themselves. But Julian is already deep in this mess and can't back out now. He agrees, and the assault begins with everyone in position. The behemoths catch the scent of the hunters immediately. Their leader gives the signal, it's go time. Julian moves to draw the heat. He's ready. He strikes the first silverback, getting its attention and leading the furious monster far away from the main group. The leader is thrilled. Julian actually did his part. Now they have one less person to split the gold with, cold-blooded. He figures the other teams will just have to fight to the death for the spoils. Meanwhile, Julian is in a desperate race. These ape attacks are relentless. Julian knows that one wrong step while kiting this monster means instant death. This elite is on a whole different level compared to the others. Any normal scout would have been crushed instantly, but Julian isn't normal. He whips his daggers around, and every single one hits a vital spot with surgical precision. The monster begins to stumble. Damn, the level 15 elite behemoth collapses. It was no match for Julian's insane critical damage. Now, it's his turn to play them. He heads for the chest, while the other teams are struggling. They're getting absolutely battered by the remaining monsters despite their numbers. Their leader is screaming orders, desperately trying to keep the formation from breaking. Julian just watches the chaos from the shadows. While the giant apes are busy pulverizing the greedy knights, Julian slips past them and enters the hidden cave. Just a short walk and there it is, the treasure chest. Getting inside was actually way easier than he expected, to be honest. Killing that one elite was all it took. But just as he reaches for the loot, a bone-chilling roar shakes the cavern walls. Hot saliva drips onto his shoulder. Surprise! Another behemoth was lurking in the dark, guarding the horde. It pounces with pure rage. This one is a level 20 elite. The other teams definitely didn't know about this nightmare. This is a true, deadly boss. To make things worse, the beast blocks the only exit with its massive body. No escape. It's a fight to the death now. Julian's daggers strike, but they just bounce off its reinforced hide. Even a direct hit to the eyes doesn't cause any real damage. Defense, 23. Kale's current attack, not even close. He doesn't have nearly enough armor penetration to even scratch this beast's hide. Every strike is useless, bouncing off like toothpicks. Then, bam, the giant ape lunges and Kale is sent flying, smashing into the jagged cave walls. His body hits the stone with a sickening thud. He's beaten, broken, and trying to wrap his head around how the power gap got this insane. It's too much. But Kale, he refuses to die in this hole. If he falls in this dimension, he's locked out for an entire month. That means losing his high-stakes wager with the Lord Commander. He'd be forced to crawl back and become a puppet for the military. His vision starts to fade. Everything is going dark. But then a voice echoes through the fog in his mind, screaming at him to wake up. A memory flashes. He's being carried through fire and smoke. He doesn't know what's happening, but his brother's arms are around him. 10 years ago, amidst the ruins of their fallen city, his brother is gasping, praying that Kale doesn't slip into the long sleep. He was just a boy, but he did everything to carry Kale through that literal war zone to reach safety. Looking back at that sacrifice, Kale realizes he can't just quit. His brother gave everything to save him and his sister back then. He reaches for his dagger. That familiar energy begins to pulse through his veins. He's not surrendering. Not today. The iron-hide gorilla doesn't wait. It lunges forward and swallows him whole. For a second, the beast actually looks satisfied. Big mistake. Suddenly, its eyes bulge in pure agony. Then, boom, the gorilla's head detonates into a million bloody pieces. Total carnage. The lifeless body hits the dirt. Kale actually did it. He defeated the elite beast against all odds. Turns out, the defense inside its mouth was paper-thin compared to that outer armor. It's the same trick he used on the Wolf King. Finally, the elite chest is his for the taking. Kale is running on fumes, barely standing, but this loot, it belongs to him now. Nearly an hour later, the mercenaries outside finally clear the rest of the pack. They're actually celebrating Kale's death. One less person to split the treasure with, right? They laugh as they swagger into the cave to claim their prize. But when they reach the heart of the lair, the celebration stops. The treasure chest is already wide open, completely empty. The leader starts screaming at the top of his lungs. That chest was supposed to be their big payday, their ticket out of the dirt. One of them stammers that he saw the kids sneak inside during the chaos, but he thought he was hallucinating. Nobody believed a kid could survive that. Now, the whole crew is losing it, turning their frustration on the captain. They've been out here for days, their salaries are overdue, and they've got nothing. They were played by a teenager. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the valley, Kale is catching his breath. He knows those thugs are fuming, and honestly, he loves it. Time to see the spoils. He pulls up the system interface, his eyes practically glowing as he looks at what he snatched. It's a gold mine. The chest is packed with rare minerals and high-tier equipment that's worth more than a kingdom's ransom. This haul is way more valuable than some monster pelts. But then, something specific catches his eye at the bottom of the pile. A pair of masterwork gloves. He slides them on, noticing the intricate fire emblems etched onto the back of each hand. He isn't sure if they favor attack or defense yet, but the moment he clenches his fists, everything feels different. He feels lighter, faster. A surge of raw strength flows through him. His agility and power have definitely hit a new peak. He decides to test his new toys. He launches his daggers into the air and get this, mid-flight they just ignite. Trails of flame follow the blades. It's an elemental effect from the gloves, but Kale starts to get worried. See, in this world, basic fire is pretty much useless in a real fight. It's for campfires and cooking, nothing more. He's literally wondering if he just equipped high-end oven mitts when a massive roar shakes the entire forest. A giant, hairy hand slams into the earth with bone-shattering force. This isn't just one beast. It's four elite elemental gorillas have surrounded him, and Kale has no idea if his test shot accidentally hit one of them. Facing one was a nightmare, but four at once, that's a death sentence. He has to try the mouth trick again. But these beasts are smart. As Kale throws, the gorilla snaps its mouth shut, blocking the path to its vitals. The system notification pings. Defense too high. Damage 0. Kale is officially in a nightmare scenario. He's trapped. The gorillas know exactly how to protect their weak spots now, leaving Kale with no way in. He turns to run, but then he notices something strange. The gorilla he hit earlier, its health bar is steadily dropping. Even if he lands a lucky shot, he can't take all four in a brawl. He's looking for an exit, but wait, look at the flames. The fire is spreading. It's jumping from one gorilla to the next, and their health is starting to tank. The damage isn't just constant, it's ramping up. The longer the fire burns, the more life it drains from them. One gorilla is already completely engulfed in an inferno. 2,000 health points, gone in a single second. This isn't cooking fire. The inferno explodes. The great apes can't stop it. The flames are spreading like a nightmare they can't wake up from. Arthur just stands there, stunned. How did a tiny spark grow this fast? Then, look, a small ember drifts toward one of them. It hits the beast's chest. The ape just brushes it off, thinking nothing of it, but everything happens in a heartbeat. Suddenly, 3 massive behemoths are engulfed in a roaring blaze. Arthur is still scratching his head. Why are they catching fire? The flames vanish as fast as they came, leaving behind 4 charred corpses. And check this out, the damage logs are insane. In just a few seconds, the burn damage jumped from 10 to 2,000. That's a 200 times multiplier. Absolute madness. Those gloves, they're the real deal. Every time the skill procs, damage hits the roof and jumps from one monster to the next. Regular fire is one thing, but if you don't have fire resistance against this, you're toast. Literally. We're talking 2,000 points of damage every single second. For clearing out massive mobs, these gloves are a godsend. Arthur doesn't have to sweat high defenses anymore. It's like a cheat code that just melts right through any armor. For those apes, this was the worst night in history. A total nightmare, even if the whole valley was lit up like a festival. They were being incinerated like dry wood. Nobody had ever seen power like this before, burning through behemoths like they were nothing. All they could do was run for their lives. Meanwhile, Arthur's just strolling through the Sovereign's Hollow like it's a Sunday walk. 10 miles of absolute scorched earth. By dawn on the second day, the entire valley is nothing but a blanket of gray ash and silence. Talk about a payday. Hunting those apes pushed him all the way to level 7. Those gloves are carrying him hard. Honestly, anything under level 20 is basically fodder for his area damage now. Plus, he scored 10 elite chests. Between the chests and the monster loot, Arthur is about to be filthy rich. He's looking at the sky, feeling a bit lonely. He starts thinking about his old crew. Man, he misses the good old days. I wonder how they're doing in the king's army. He hopes they're thriving. But back in the hollow, his friend is fuming because every single monster in the zone is dead. His female friend is really feeling the loss too. Arthur used to be their go-to guy for tracking and taking down beasts. Their commander tells the recruits to pipe down. This place is lethal for rookies, which explains why they found nothing. He warns them that even with Arthur, it's too dangerous. See, Lionel is a level 38 explorer. He knows the risks. All they can do is keep hunting for any stray apes that survived the purge. But man, they really do miss Arthur. 3 days pass. One explorer sighs all he can find are low-level apes. It's way too easy and honestly, boring. Sir Cedric tells them to focus on finding Arthur. He thinks it's a total waste of talent for him to be solo. But one guy just shrugs. It is what it is, he says. Suddenly, everyone stops and looks at him. He mentions seeing a guy take down 3 great apes like it was nothing. It was a sight to behold, truly incredible. But the arrogant noble in the group just scoffs. To low-level scrubs, everything looks impressive. The young man just stays quiet. Holding a sketch of Arthur, the noble asks if anyone has seen this guy in the valley. They recognize him immediately. That's him, they shout, the guy who soloed the 3 behemoths. But they heard he's only level 5. A rookie, no way. The noble is fuming. He's ready to make Arthur eat dirt the second he finds him. And guess what? They just spotted him leaving the Sovereign's Hollow. The arrogant jerk is grinning now. Arthur is right within his reach. Time to move. They're not wasting a second. Their mission is finally a go after days of searching. Arthur's little fan club can only watch and pity these fools. They have absolutely no idea what's coming for them. At the valley's exit, a crowd is complaining. No apes left. People say a massive fire wiped them all out in one shot. Nobody believes one person could do that. But look at Arthur. He's level 10 now and sitting on 19 elite chests. Suddenly, a voice booms across the path. Stop right there. Arthur stops and turns around to see the trouble. It's that group of idiots again. The ones who think they can actually take him down. This is gonna be good. People recognize them. The Talon Guard of House Sterling. Everyone's wondering what Arthur did to piss off a great house. Arthur just looks at them. House Sterling sent you. The noble draws his blade, a nasty smirk on his face. He brings up the grudge from the trials. They've come all this way just to put him in the ground. Arthur stays cool. It was self-defense, he says. Are you guys really sure you want to go through with this? They don't care about the why, only the bounty on his head. Fine then, no mercy. Arthur's daggers are out. He lets them fly. The fools scramble to dodge, laughing because the daggers only singe them. Is that all? They mock. The crowd can't believe it. Using basic fire in a high-stakes duel, they think Arthur has finally lost his mind. It was only a matter of time before Alistair ended it. He just stands there, casually asking the elite squad what they think will happen once the real fire starts. Damage numbers start screaming. 2,000 health points every single second. The first knight is already melting. In a heartbeat, he's gone. enveloped in white-hot flames so intense his body just vanishes. His team, pure, unadulterated panic. They try everything to snuff it out, but it's useless. They can't wrap their heads around why a simple spell is shredding their life bars like tissue paper. Then the sparks fly. A few embers catch the others, and suddenly, 2 more human bonfires join the party. The rest of them are just lined up for the slaughter. They try to react, but the flames are hungry, insatiable. There's no escaping it. Their bodies are consumed in seconds. Then, the system chime hits. Alistair wiped the whole team and pocketed every bit of their experience. The bystanders, jaws on the floor. They can't believe a single player just deleted an elite squad. Hey, they wanted a fight, right? Alistair's happy to deliver. He looks down at the charred remains of the men who just tried to kill him. People are losing their minds. How does one person do that to a level 20 elite team? It's unheard of. Everyone's dying to know who this monster is, but one watcher tries to scan Alistair's stats and nothing, error. Total blackout. They figure he's some high-tier fire mage, using legendary cloaking items to hide his power level. Alistair checks his own window. 2 more level-ups just from that little skirmish. Not bad for a walk in the park. He checks in with his guide. Why is he such a ghost to everyone else? Turns out, his skills pumped his attributes so high that players at his level simply can't see through the veil. Honestly, it's perfect. It keeps him from becoming a target for every ambitious hunter in the kingdom. He heads straight to the Merchants' Guild. The clerk barely looks up. She's seen a million heroes today, and none of them have anything good. Alistair says he's got some loot to move. She's bored. Judging by his rough clothes, she expects rusty daggers and scrap. Then he starts unloading. Her eyes practically pop out of her head as the counter fills up. Sentinel crests, elite beast runes, and that's not even the half of it. He drops 19 sovereign chests from the forbidden crypts on the table. The entire shop goes dead silent. The poor woman doesn't know what to do. Most players sell 1 item at a time. Alistair, he's a one-man wholesale empire. She has to literally shake her head to snap back to reality. Now she's sweating and excited. I will count every single copper, sir. I am the best trader in this city, trust me. This is about to get very interesting. The calculator starts humming. The crests, 10,000. The treasure chests, 170,000. Total haul, 180,000 crowns. In the real world, that's 1,800,000. Finally, his brother's medical bills, paid in full. Plus, he won the bet with the Lord Commander, no military draft for him. He's walking away, feeling like a king when a voice calls out. It's Clara, the local seer. She's out of breath, reminding him she gave him that fortune reading for free, and she was right about the crypts. It was a gold mine, just like she said, but she isn't looking for a handout. She looks at him with this desperate, fragile hope, her wish, to join his team and fight by his side. But Alistair, he just turns his back and says goodbye, stone cold. Clara is absolutely fuming at the disrespect. She rants about how the Royal Legion treats people like tools. Then she stops. Want my gear, since you like free stuff. This might be her last time in the game. Alistair pauses. You're quitting, you that broke. She wishes she wasn't, but no team wants a seer. It's a useless profession, and she's given up on making it. The military told her arcane geomancy was a top-tier job. She believed them. She switched classes and got stuck. Now the Legion has moved on, and no one else wants a seer on their squad. She's a social pariah. She spends her days rotting in town. If she returns to Earth, it's back to manual labor for pennies. Alistair listens, and it hits home. His brother's health collapsed because of that exact kind of backbreaking work. He knows a girl like her wouldn't last a day in those conditions. It's a death sentence. But she has siblings depending on her. She can't just stop. This is exactly his brother's story. Different faces, same desperate need. His brother must have looked at this game as his only hope, too. But the fear of leaving his family with nothing drove him back to the heavy labor that eventually broke him. Clara turns to leave, telling him this is the end. She's done with the game, done with the hope. just a final goodbye. But looking at her, Alistair sees a reflection he can't just ignore. Arthur wasn't done yet. He told her to wait just a little longer. He had to go, but he promised that if they met again, it was happening. They'd form a real team. The fortune teller, Elara, was stunned. She was actually trembling with emotion, hardly able to believe her ears. She was skeptical, sure, but Arthur gave her his word. He even swore that if he was lying, he'd never make another coin in his life. Knowing how much he loves his gold, Elara actually laughed at the comparison. But before he could vanish, she grabbed him in a massive hug. She thanked him for the chance, but Arthur was dying of embarrassment. He tried to push her away while other players started staring at the scene. Back in the real world, he headed home with a massive announcement. His sister, Clara, finally didn't have to work another day in her life. The family was in shock. Clara was worried. Was this money even legal? Arthur just smiled and told her he'd earned every bit of it in the game. The plan was set. Clara was going back to school, and their brother, Leo, was getting his surgery tomorrow. No more waiting. Leo looked at him, worried about how hard Arthur must have pushed himself. But Arthur just shrugged. It was nothing compared to Leo raising 2 orphans alone. Leo had done his part. Now, it was Arthur's turn to carry the family. They celebrated, toast after toast, marking the start of a brand new chapter. Arthur was relaxing, soaking it all in when his phone started vibrating. A call was coming through. It was the commander, General Vance. Vance admitted it. He lost the bet. Arthur was a free man, but he told Arthur to head outside the safe zone. He was sending a ride to show him something. They arrived at the ruins of the old city, the place where Arthur grew up. It was a wasteland now. Finally, he came face to face with the general. Arthur wanted to know why he'd been brought to this graveyard, but as he spoke, the ground groaned. A massive roar tore through the air. The very buildings began to sway. Explosions rattled the horizon. And then he saw it. Looming over the ruins was a creature the size of a skyscraper. It was a literal mountain of flesh and rage. But standing right in its path was a tiny group of 3 people, and they didn't look scared at all. Arthur was breathless. Are those people actually fighting an apex beast? Vance just nodded, watching the chaos unfold with a grim expression. Here's the deal. Every 20 levels, there's a massive gap between players. 6 divisions in total, and up to level 80, you're just a gamer. Your skills stay locked inside the simulation. But then you have the Ascendants. They are the ones who break every rule in the book. From level 81 to 120, everything changes. It's a total evolution. The power they have in the game, it becomes real. They can use that devastating magic in the physical world. These people are walking gods, fighting with zero hesitation and absolute precision. The battle was a whirlwind of steel and energy. No struggling, no fear, just a relentless hunt. The fight against the beast was progressing fast. Arthur was floored by their strength, but Vance dropped a bombshell. That was just an ordinary apex beast, and they'd already lost 2 elite knights to it. That statistic hit Arthur like a freight train. Reality check. Humanity's back is against the wall. Things are much worse than the public knows. Arthur only felt safe because he lived behind the walls of the capital. Vance wasn't going to force him to enlist, but he wanted him to see the truth. Thunder cracked over the desolate city as Vance dropped another piece of news. He'd personally told the House of Blackwood to stop harassing the boy. Arthur actually smiled. It was weird how much this high-ranking general cared about him, but Vance, he just follows his gut feeling. Vance knew Arthur's only goal was protecting his family. Joining the army meant the front lines. It meant being miles away from the people he loved. Arthur went quiet, processing everything. Vance's intuition told him this kid was going to be a monster of a warrior one day, a true protector. But every man has a duty to the kingdom. Someone has to hold the line. Vance knew his own time might be coming to an end soon. As a citizen of Albion, if he had to die for his country or to protect a talent like Arthur, he'd do it gladly. No regrets. He wouldn't force the boy's hand. But he hoped that, when the capital eventually calls for aid, Arthur would be the one to answer the bell. After a few days of rest and family time, Arthur headed back into the 𝒂𝒂. He couldn't stop thinking about the general's massive expectations. It was time to get serious. No more grinding on weaklings. He needed a real challenge because those forest guerrillas weren't cutting it anymore. He checked his tracker and found his target, a ghostly Banshee. This thing is a nightmare, one-shot kills and pure psychological terror for its victims. Here's the catch. It takes 0 damage from anything further than 10 meters away. You have to get close. And within that range, it's pure lethality. This was going to be way harder than the guerrillas. He couldn't solo this. He needed a squad. He tracked down 𝒂𝒂𝒏, who was literally napping on the street. She had a sign next to her that said, "Waiting for the captain, do not disturb." Arthur woke her up, wondering if she'd been there the whole time. She was glowing with joy. She knew he'd come back. Arthur just shook his head. He always keeps his promises, no matter what. 𝒂𝒂𝒏 claimed she'd already found a 3rd member for their party. Someone useful, she said. Arthur just prayed the guy wasn't some random drunkard. Then she introduced Julian, and wouldn't you know it, he was exactly what Arthur feared, a total stumbling drunk. Arthur immediately tried to bolt. She's been waiting right there since he last stepped foot in the kingdom. Pure joy, she knew he'd come back. Alistair says a knight always keeps his word. She smiles, then mentions a new companion she's found who could be a massive help. Slaying monsters would be easy with another sword, provided he isn't a tavern-crawling drunkard. Then, Barnaby introduces himself. He's exactly what Alistair feared, a total drunk. One look, and our hero is already trying to bolt from the group. Watching this unfold, the seer realizes that Sir Alistair remains a cold, pragmatic leader at heart, but she still tries her best to help the newcomer. She speaks up for Rupert, insisting he is a diligent worker and completely loyal to the cause, which leaves the poor boy blushing and speechless. He stammers that he can cook, give massages, and as long as he stays in the party, he'll even waive his entire share of the treasure. That last part, it caught Alistair's attention immediately. He practically lunges forward, grabbing Rupert's hands with a sudden, terrifying intensity. Suddenly, Alistair is all smiles, praising the boy's hidden talent, and claiming he can't wait to work together as his new, very generous captain. Rupert whispers to the seer, asking if the captain is always this obsessed with gold, and she just sighs. Yeah, pretty much. They soon arrive at the Crowned Hollow, a chilling graveyard where elite banshees roam, and right on cue, a ghostly hand creeps out from the shadows. A level 20 banshee emerges, ready to feast on any stray adventurers, while Alistair's team watches her from a safe distance. Alistair warns them that she's incredibly dangerous and will kill them the moment they're exposed, so they have to be stealthy and strike from up close. He whispers for everyone to stay dead silent and wait for the perfect opening, but then he hears a faint muttering and snaps at Rupert to shut up. Rupert looks confused because he hadn't said a single word, but Alistair hisses for silence again, even though the boy is being quiet as a grave. Alistair spins around to see who's blowing their cover, only to find Rupert, the drunkard version, passed out cold and snoring like a freight train. In his drunken slumber, the man is shouting toasts to the captain, and just like that, the banshee realizes they aren't alone. The monster shrieks and charges straight for them, getting close enough to unleash a wave of pure, supernatural terror. Panicking, Alistair yells at Rupert to do something, but the drunkard is too busy dreaming to actually help fight off a literal nightmare. Then it happens. The banshee lets out a bone-chilling scream, and the entire team is caught right in the middle of the sonic blast. Alistair is frozen in place. The seer is paralyzed with fear, and even the useless, sleeping drunkard is hit by the wave of dark magic. They're all slapped with a fear status, completely incapacitated and unable to move a muscle as the banshee closes in for the kill. But wait, things get weird. Still dreaming, the drunkard mumbles about a beautiful woman appearing out of nowhere and lunges forward to grab the monster. He flies through the air with such accidental force that it actually looks like a calculated strike, shouting that it must be destiny that brought them together. He starts stroking the banshee's tail, decaying face, rambling about how soft and radiant her skin is while he gets way too personal. Strangely enough, the fierce status vanishes, and Alistair watches in pure shock, wondering if Rupert is actually controlling the beast. He realizes the Banshee's scream is on a cooldown, and this is the only opening they'll get to take the monster down for good. Surprisingly, Rupert is actually pinning the monster to the ground, making it impossible for her to dodge Alistair's incoming finishing move. The drunkard leans in for a massive kiss, declaring they'll be husband and wife forever, but before the lip lock happens, the monster literally explodes. Smoke billows into the sky from the epicenter of the blast, and as it clears, Rupert wakes up from his delusion, looking for his lovely bride. Alistair is thrilled with the quick kill, and the seer is impressed that the captain finished off an elite monster in mere seconds. But one person is absolutely devastated. Rupert is sobbing because his wife just blew up right in front of his eyes. He cries out that she was the love of his life, and that he'll never be able to love again, making the whole scene incredibly awkward. Alistair asks if he's always this dramatic, and the seer explains that he's just a drunkard with truly terrible taste in women when he's wasted. As the seer goes to collect the monster's loot, Alistair starts thinking about why the Banshee's scream didn't work on the sleeping drunkard. Rupert was right in the blast zone but wasn't affected at all. In fact, he actually fought back, which is totally unheard of. Here's the thing, drunkards usually just lose control, but this specific flaw seems to make him completely immune to the Banshee's mental attacks. If that's true, Alistair realizes he's found a massive loophole that he needs to exploit immediately while the iron is hot. The seer returns with the treasure, but Alistair is already grinning. He realizes the drunkard is the perfect weapon against these ghostly monsters. That mischievous smile on his face makes the seer wonder what kind of insane plan he's cooking up now as they move deeper into the woods. They soon find another Banshee nest, and right on cue, another specter lets out a terrifying, ear-piercing scream to warn them off. But Alistair isn't worried this time. Like a master commanding a loyal beast, he literally releases his drunkard into the fray. The Banshee screams her lungs out, but it's useless because Rupert just thinks she's thirsty for his adorable, chubby body. He shouts back that he desires her just as much and wants to get married right there on the spot, completely ignoring her deadly aura. With the beast totally distracted by Rupert's unwanted advances, Alistair seizes the moment and sends his daggers flying toward her throat. Once again, the drunkard's attempt at a kiss ends in a massive explosion, and the system confirms that another Banshee has been eliminated. Rupert is left slightly scorched and confused, demanding to know where his beautiful bride went this time as his heart breaks again. Enraged, he curses his friends for blowing up his woman before falling face first into the dirt, completely exhausted from the romance. The other two don't even slow down. They're racing to the next Banshee before Rupert can sober up, and after 3 hours, the poor guy has already lost 11 wives. Time just kept slipping away, and poor Rowan, a resident drunkard, had already lost 23 noble consorts. The more he drank, the more his imaginary harem vanished into thin air. While he was out of it, the team was busy causing absolute chaos with explosions to farm loot. In the end, they managed to haul in a massive pile of 35 treasure chests. All that grinding paid off big time. Kaelin jumped up 2 levels, hitting level 14. The only real casualty here, Rowan's dignity. The man was an emotional wreck. He actually called his teammates merciless beasts, and honestly, he's not wrong. But look at the haul. They even snagged 2 rare skill cards from the wreckage. The first one, a downpour spell. It summons a massive storm if the user has high mental focus. In the right spot, a powerful mage can basically create an entire lake. Since Alara is already sitting at level 29 with plenty of mana to spare, Kaelin decides she's the perfect fit. He hands the card over without a second thought. Talk about a confidence boost. She was absolutely thrilled. This is her first real combat skill besides her fate reading, and finally, she doesn't feel like dead weight anymore. She literally bowed to him, swearing he'd be like a brother to her forever. Kaylin just brushed it off, told her she earned it. He gave her a playful little tap on the head to stop her from being so dramatic. Now, for the second card. This one is restricted to a hidden class. It grants a one-time use skill that vanishes after you trigger it. Normally, people would save it, but Kaylin, he wanted to test it right then and there. Even though it's for secret professions, he gave it a shot anyway. And just like that, boom, he unlocked a weird ability called the Rogue's Gambit. Here's how it works. If any player stares at him for 30 minutes, Kaylin automatically siphons 1,000 of their stat points. Pure robbery. Once the timer is up, the stats return to the original owner. Kaylin was like, wait, that's it? He was definitely expecting something more permanent. The Oracle confirmed it. He couldn't believe such a high-tier skill could only borrow 1,000 points at a time. Seemed a bit underwhelming for his tastes. Based on how the mechanics worked, he didn't think it was very practical. Right then, Rowan finally dragged himself out of his drunken stupor. His head was absolutely pounding. Alara didn't make it any easier on him, though. She smirked and asked if he remembered losing 35 noble consorts last night. Rowan's memory was a total blur, just flashes of him chasing some imaginary lady. Then it hit him, all of it. Every embarrassing second came rushing back. Cue the moral hangover. Rowan actually started puking from the shame. Crying, he apologized to the captain, saying he was just a burden who should be kicked out. He fully expected to be fired, but instead, Kaylin handed him a fresh set of knightly gear. He told him that Rowan was the real hero of the night. Without Rowan's distraction, the Banshees would have torn Kaylin apart. He made it clear, Rowan isn't just a drunk, he's a vital part of the squad. Rowan was in shock. He tried to refuse the gift, saying just being allowed in the party was enough for a failure like him. He couldn't take it. But Kaylin isn't that kind of leader. He treats his comrades with respect. Then, he turned to Alara and revealed he had a special item for her too. She was totally blindsided. Looking at him now, Kaylin didn't just look like a captain. He looked like a legendary prince straight out of a storybook. Her eyes were practically sparkling. Rowan was right there with her, totally moved by the captain's sheer kindness. These two were officially fanboys now. They both bowed low, swearing to follow him to the ends of the earth. Kaylin just sighed, telling them to cut out the formal stuff. And that's our story for now. Don't want to miss what Kaylin does next. Smash that notification bell and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one right here on 𝒕𝒏𝒄's channel.